Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Pariyantam Vande Guru Paramparam. Please be seated. Om. Yes. Yeah, no problem. Good. Everything is fine. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahavidyan Karava Vahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvisha vahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat. Good. Nice to see you this morning as we continue our study of Chapter 7. Good. Welcome also to all of our online viewers, students, many of them. We will begin today, as always, with some recitation. We'll start with verse 4. And as always, as I'm chanting, read the meaning and then repeat after me. Bhumirapo nalo vayuhu, bhumirapo nalo vayuhu, kammano buddhireva cha, kammano buddhireva cha, ahankara hiti yamme, ahankara hiti yamme, bhinna prakritirashtadha, bhinna prakritirashtadha. Excuse me. Apadheyamitastvanyam, apadheyamitastvanyam, prakritim vidhi me param, prakritim vidhi me param, jiva bhuta mahabhaho, jiva bhuta mahabhato, Yayedam dharyate jagata, yayedam dharyate jagata, etadyonini bhutani, etadyonini bhutani, sarvanityupadharaya, sarvanityupadhar. Aham kritsnasya jagataha, aham kritsnasya jagataha, prabhavah pralayastata, prabhavah pralayastata, mattah parataram nanyata, mattah parataram nanyata, kinchirasti dhananjaya, kinchirasti dhananjaya, Mayi sarvamidam protam, Mayi sarvamidam protam, Sutre maniganahiva, Sutre maniganahiva, Rasohamapsu kaunteya, Rasohamapsu kaunteya, Prabhasmi shashi surya yoho, Prabhasmi shashi surya, Pranava sarva vedeshu, Pranava sarva vedeshu, Shabda ke paurusham drishu, Shabda ke paurusham drishu, Punyo gandha prativyam cha, Punyo gandha prativyam cha, Tejaschasmi vibhavasau. Tejaschasmi vibhavasau. Jivanam sarvabhuteshu. Jivanam sarvabhuteshu. Tapaschasmi tapasvishu. Tapaschasmi tapasvishu. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam. Bijam mam sarvabhutanam. Vidhi partha sanatanam. Vidhi partha sanatanam. Buddhir buddhimatam asmi. Buddhir buddhimatam asmi. Tejas tejasvinamaham. Tejas tejasvinamaham. Very good. We will resume with verse 7. We finished actually verse 7, but before we do, we covered a lot of very important material in the last class. And it would be good to begin our class today with a very brief review of that material. In particular, we discussed at length how Ishvara, loosely called God, is a reality to be known and not a matter of blind faith. Then the issue becomes, how will that ultimate reality be known? And we used a series of metaphors. In Sanskrit, we call them drishtanta. Drishtanta means metaphor. And this is a series of metaphors which is really important to lead us from one step to another step to another step to understand who and what is Ishvara. I'm going to go to the board, and we're just going to review briefly those those drishtantas, those metaphors. And the first metaphor, I didn't use the word magician, but it fits. And that is to say, the first concept of God is one who creates a world out of nothing. We quoted the Latin creatio ex nihilo, one who creates that's showing up fine? Yeah. One who creates the universe out of nothing is like a magician. So is Ishvara, God, like a magician? And we said, that's unreasonable, it's illogical. Something comes from something. From nothing comes nothing. So it's unreasonable, and as I said in the class, if you're going to choose to believe anything at all, it would be, at least from my perspective, it's far preferable to believe something reasonable than believing something unreasonable. There are many beliefs. Karma, the doctrine of karma is a matter of belief. We can't prove it, but the doctrine of karma is a reasonable belief. So if you will choose to believe in it, at least it's a reasonable belief and not an unreasonable belief. But to believe that God, like a magician, creates the universe out of nothing would be an unreasonable belief. So we reject it, and we go to our second of four metaphors, which is that of the pot maker. So a pot maker makes pots, and so too Ishvara makes the universe. The pot maker has the skill to make the pot. The pot maker has the material. He goes and gets clay. So with the material, clay, and with his knowledge, his intelligence, the pot maker makes pots. In the same way, Ishvara can be said to possess the intelligence for the entire universe. A side point here. You've heard the term sarvagnya, omniscient or all-knowing, used with regard to Ishvara, sarvagnya. Sarvagnya doesn't mean someone who knows what's happening all the time. So when you're at home in your bedroom or bathroom, it's not like God is watching you. So sarvagnya doesn't mean that. Sarvagnya means the one who possesses sarva jnanam, all knowledge. One who, the pot maker requires knowledge enough to make the pot. The one who creates the universe must necessarily possess knowledge adequate for the entire universe. That's what that term sarvagnya means. So the possessor of all knowledge. And we said that's our second drishtanta, which sounds better than the magician metaphor, but it's still defective. Remember, we said each one of these metaphors ends up being defective. All metaphors are defective. Remember that discussion. If the metaphor were perfect, it wouldn't be a metaphor, it would be the actual thing being represented. So every metaphor has a defect. What is the defect of the pot maker metaphor? You remember, right? And that is the material out of which the pot maker makes pots, clay, is separate from the pot maker. But the problem we have is all of our scriptures say, idam agre asit, in the beginning, sadeva, was only God. God alone existed in the beginning. There was nothing other than, let me use the term Ishvara. Ishvara alone existed. There was nothing other than Ishvara. So therefore, Ishvara had nowhere to go for material. So that shows the defect. Our concept of Ishvara is the one who alone existed at the beginning of time. There is no Ishvara plus some storehouse of raw materials. There was Ishvara and Ishvara alone. So here we see the defect of the pot maker analogy, which led us to the third of our four analogies, which was that of the spider, as you remember. By the way, if you missed in the last class, definitely worth going back and reviewing that. So the spider solves the problem of the pot maker because the material out of which the spider spins a web, the material comes from the spider itself. Further, the spider spins a web, and when the web is damaged, the spider actually eats or consumes the web. This metaphor is found in the Upanishads and the Vedas. So that solves the problem. The spider has the intelligence to create that web. By the way, how big is a spider's brain? And yet, that tiny brain has the intelligence to create these fabulously complex webs. Amazing. This is an amazing aspect of nature. The spider possesses adequate knowledge for its creation, the web, and the spider possesses the source of the material. Just as the spider spins a web and consumes it, so too Ishvara creates the universe, and at the end of time, Ishvara gathers that universe into itself. Sounds good, but it's still defective. It's a metaphor. It's going to have a defect. And you remember what the defect was? The spider's creation is separate from the spider. The spider can abandon its web. Ishvara can abandon the universe? Ishvara created the universe and then went on holiday. Silly, right? And our scriptures present the scriptures present the world, universe, as being non-separate from Ishvara. So here we see the defect or limitation of the spider analogy, which led us to the fourth of our analogies, which was the analogy of the dream. When you dream at night, you create a dream world. You have adequate knowledge for that dream world. Remember that, just to remind you, we said for any creation, two factors are required: knowledge and material. The intimidating Sanskrit terminology is upadana karana for material and nimitta karana for knowledge. You can ignore the Sanskrit. For any creation, you require knowledge and material. The pot maker required knowledge and material for the pot. The spider required knowledge and material for the spider. In the same way, to create your dream world, it's built based on your knowledge, your experience, your memories, your creativity. And what is your dream world made of? There are people and buildings and cars and stuff in your dream world, all of which is made of your dream stuff. Metaphorically, we could say it's made of you. Not only is it made of you, the tree in your dream is not made of wood, it's made of dream wood. Your dream stuff, your consciousness, it's made of you. So, and in a dream, and we're going to come back to this shortly, in a dream, not only is the dream world made of you, it's also non-separate from you. It's inside you. The dream world is within you. So this becomes a better metaphor. So the dream world, just as you create a dream world, you sustain your dream world, when you wake up, the dream world returns to you. So for your dream world, you are Brahmaji, creator. You are Vishnu, sustainer. You are Maheshwara, the destroyer. For your dream world, where's the defect in this metaphor? It sounds so good. The defect, of course, is it's not a dream. And Ishvara is not like a human being who can have dreams. It's another metaphor, but it's very helpful. That's why we use metaphors, not because they're correct, because every metaphor is incorrect, as we've said several times. We use metaphors because they are helpful. This dream metaphor is extremely helpful, and it shows just as you are the possessor of the knowledge and material out of which the dream world is made, Ishvara is the possessor of the knowledge and material out of which the universe is made. And just as your dream creation is non-separate from you, in the same way, this universe is non-separate from Ishvara. You can't create a dream world and then walk away like the spider. So this is how the dream world solves that problem. And then as a side note, from this dream metaphor, we spoke at the end of our class last week about an Avatara. We called it Avatara Vada, the doctrine of Avatara. The word is familiar to you, one who descends, literally it means descent. One who descends, one who, God, Ishvara, who assumes a particular form in this world, and there are many scriptures that talk about various incarnations of Ishvara. In this context, Sri Krishna is the most obvious instance of this. So just as, and the metaphor, the connection to the dream, is just as you project yourself into your dream creation as one of the characters in your dream creation. In your dream are many people and things, and you project yourself as one of those many people in your dreams. In the same way, Ishvara is said to project himself into the universe in various forms, including the form of Sri Krishna. So this is our summary of the last class. And with that summary, we can finish our introduction and proceed. Just to summarize all of this, one thing that's much confused about the Hindu religion. People so frequently say Hinduism is polytheistic. Hindus worship many gods. But based on what we just saw, ending up at that dream metaphor, we come to a very conclusion. And the conclusion is surprising. So already you know very well that upon analysis, we have to reject the notion that Hindus worship many gods. You know very well, Hindus worship one God in many forms. You've known that for a long time. So Hindus worship one Ishvara in many, many forms. But now this discussion takes us a step further because, let me go back to that. In that dream metaphor, there's only the dreamer. Everything in the dream is nothing but a manifestation of the dreamer. In fact, in the dream world, what exists is the dreamer and the dreamer alone, correct? What exists in the dream world is the dreamer and the dreamer alone. So that leads us from many gods to one God, and then as we finished in the last class, my Guru's famous statement, not one God, but only God. Just as in the dream world there is only the dreamer, in the same way in this world there is only Ishvara. There's nothing but Ishvara. Upanishad says, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. All this indeed is Brahman. In this context is Ishvara. Only Ishvara exists. So that we'll just conclude this. Everyone will ask the Guru, "O Guru, have you seen God?" And a Guru who has understood this will say, "Yes, I'm looking at God right now." Looking at the person who asked the question. This is the vision of the ancient rishis. It's a very sophisticated, the word we used, cosmology. A very sophisticated cosmology, and a wonderful cosmology, and a meaningful cosmology, and one that you don't blindly accept through faith, but one that you are allowed to understand, to use your power of reasoning to understand. And just a final comment on that, just about religion in general. What a shame if any religion tells you to only use your faith and not to question the teachings of that religion. Which means that religion is telling you not to use the intellect that God gave you. You shouldn't use that intellect to know who is God. I don't get that. Ishvara endowed you with a powerful intellect. Of course, you should use that powerful intellect for the sake of knowing who and what is Ishvara. Okay, end of discussion. Before we pick up the thread now, 2 questions came by email. We'll take them very quickly. First, we spoke of Lord Krishna as an avatara. The first question is, couldn't Arjuna also be considered an avatara? Well, everything that exists is a manifestation of Ishvara. Krishna is a manifestation of Ishvara. The Arjuna is a manifestation of Ishvara. The chariot is a manifestation of Ishvara. The battlefield is a manifestation of Ishvara. So here our ideas get a little blurry, so let's get a little bit more clear. Avatara is a very specific manifestation of Ishvara. And what makes the manifestation of Ishvara, as Krishna, for example, what makes that manifestation different from the manifestation sitting in your chair is that the manifestation sitting in your chair is a product of your individual karma. Why did you get born? According to the doctrine of karma, you got born according to your individual karma. And here's where the distinction is found. Ishvara is not an individual human being with individual karma. Therefore, the incarnation of Sri Krishna cannot be the result of any individual karma. It is a unique manifestation. Scholars will say, and I don't want to go into the details here, but scholars will say your incarnation is due to your individual karma, vyashti karma, whereas Ishvara's incarnation as Sri Krishna or any avatara is not due to individual karma, but universal karma, called samashti karma. We won't go into the details of that avatara vada right here. Second question, in the dream metaphor, you said the dreamer and dream are one, but the creator and the creation are different. And I'm afraid I was maybe misunderstood. The whole point of that dream metaphor is to show that the creator and creation are one. The creator of your dream creation and the dream creation itself are one and the same. They are non-different. So this is a very, as I said, it's a sophisticated cosmology. And it takes some effort to understand very clearly. Okay. So, to pick up the thread for today's class, that was rather a lengthy introduction, but a necessary one. I think you'll agree that it was important. So, to pick up the thread now, we're going to see an interesting shift of subject matter right now. In the last verse concluded our discussion of who and what is Ishvara, where Sri Krishna says, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti. He says, Dhananjaya, O Arjuna, nothing greater than me exists, nothing other than me exists. This is a Sri Krishna statement. Remember to explain the avatara, we gave the example of the lucid dream. Lucid dream means you're dreaming and you know you're dreaming. So if this right now is your lucid dream, you, the one sitting in your chair, are a projection of the dreamer into this dream world that you created. Remember, we discussed this at detail in last week's class, which means metaphorically you are an avatara in this dream world that you created. So in principle, you could stand up right now. If this is your lucid dream, you could stand up and announce to us all, Mattaha parataram nanyat kinchidasti. There is nothing other than me that exists. There's nothing greater than me. There's nothing other than me. Of course, you'd be referring not to your individual personhood projected into this dream creation. You'd actually be referring to yourself laying in your bed. So you are the avatara, and you can refer to the truth of yourself, the dreamer, laying comfortably in your bed. And he ended, Sri Krishna ended this section with another beautiful metaphor. Mayi sarvamidam protam. This entire universe is woven upon me. Sutre maniganaiva. Like beads are strung on a thread. Nice. So the thread holds all the beads together. Ishvara holds the universe together. Another beautiful metaphor. Another metaphor with a defect. All metaphors have a defect. The defect, of course, as we saw in the last class, is that the thread is separate from the beads. Okay, that's fine. Every metaphor is meant to show something. Notice in that metaphor, it's a nice imagery. And we actually see a very dramatic shift in the nature of the text as we leave this verse 7 and move forward into verse 8. So far, we're seeing a lot of very profound spiritual teachings. Teachings that need to be grasped with our intellect. And as I said, God gave us this powerful intellect. We should use our powerful intellects in our spiritual lives. Ishvara also endowed you with powerful emotions. We all have powerful emotions. I'm going to say something you may not have heard before. If we are endowed with powerful intellects, we should use that powerful intellect as part of our spiritual lives. Then if we're also endowed with powerful emotions, shouldn't we similarly use those powerful emotions in our spiritual lives? Absolutely. Actually, you have heard this. You've heard it whenever we discuss bhakti. Bhakti, devotional practices, is the use of your emotions as part of spiritual life. And what we're going to see now with the very next verse is a shift from a very intellectual approach to a more emotional approach. Let's see the verse, and then you'll see what I mean. Rasohamapsu kaunteya, rasohamapsu kaunteya, prabhasmi shashi suryayoho, prabhasmi shashi suryayoho, pranava sarva vedeshu, pranava sarva vedeshu, shabda ke paurusham drishu, shabda ke paurusham drishu. So, Sri Krishna says, Kaunteya, O son of Kunti, O Arjuna, rasaha aham apsu. Apsu, in the waters of the universe, in water, wherever it exists, aham rasaha. I am the essence of that water, or poetically, I am the wetness of water. What a lovely poetic expression. Sri Krishna says here, I am the wetness of water. Notice using imagery. Imagery which appeals not so much to our intellects, but it appeals to us emotionally. When you see a beautiful picture, what the appeal of that beautiful painting is not its intellectual content. The appeal of the beautiful painting is its emotional content. So what we're going to see for a series of 4 verses, we're going to see a number of beautiful images of Sri Krishna manifest in the world. So, Sri Krishna says, I am the wetness of water. Meaning that when you see water, you can appreciate that that very water is a manifestation of Ishvara. Ishvara has endowed that water with existence. Ishvara is in that water, manifest in the form of water. So here Sri Krishna says, I am the wetness of water. You see that poetic style. Further, he says, Prabhasmi, Prabha asmi, I am the Prabha. I am the light. The light of what? Shashi, Surya, Yoho is a dual ending. Surya, you know as sun. Shashi is a word for moon, and I smile because its etymology is interesting. Shasha is rabbit. Shashi is one that possesses a rabbit. The moon is called Shashi because when the ancient rishis looked up, they saw those dark spots on the moon. In Western culture, we see the man in the moon, we say. So the rishis didn't see a man, they saw a rabbit. Therefore, the moon is called Shashi, the one who has a rabbit. The one is marked with a rabbit. Anyway, Shashi means moon. So Sri Krishna says here very poetically, I am the light of the sun and moon. I have to say, I love this poetry, and I hope you can also appreciate the delightful nature of this poetry, and what a contrast to the very detailed spiritual teachings we've just been seeing. Now Sri Krishna says, I am the light of the sun and moon, so that when you see the sun or moon shining in the sky, you can appreciate Ishvara's presence in the form of the sun and moon. I am the light of the sun and moon. Sarva Vedeshu, and in all the Vedas, in each of the 4 Vedas, Sri Krishna says, I am Pranava. Pranava is a technical name for the syllable Om. The syllable Om has a name. The name of the syllable Om is Pranava. And so Sri Krishna says, I am Pranava Sarva Vedeshu. I am Om in all the Vedas. Every Vedic hymn begins with Om. So Om pervades the Vedas, and like Om pervades the Vedas, Ishvara pervades the cosmos. Shabdaha K. Ka is a funny word for space. Shabdaha K. And Shabda, means word, but this is a little technical, and that is, in the ancient worldview, sound was considered to be the stuff out of which space is made. We don't think of that today, but this is how they thought in ancient times. Space is made of sound. Space is the medium through which sound travels. And today we know that sound doesn't travel through a vacuum, but that's modern understanding. In ancient times, they thought very differently, so they saw this fundamental association of sound and space. So therefore, Sri Krishna says, Shabdaha Ke. I'll paraphrase, I am the essence of space. I am the essence because of which space exists. Further, Paurusham Nrishu. In every person, Nr is person here, in every person I am Paurusham, personhood. Or let me be a little bit more literal. In every man I am manhood. This is very literal. I am the strength of men. The translation is fine. So I am the manhood of men, the essence. For whatever exists, Sri Krishna says, I am the essence because of which that exists. Just like for your dream creation, you are the essence. Just to finish that up, in your dream creation, if there's a river, what is the water in your dream river made of? If the sun and moon are present in your dream world, what are they made of? If there are Vedas in your dream world, what are they made of? And space, whatever exists in your dream world, you are the essence because of which they all exist. Okay, this very poetic approach continues for a series of 4 verses. Punyo gandha prativyam cha, punyo gandha prativyam cha, tejas chasmi vibhavasau, tejas chasmi vibhavasau, jivanam sarva bhuteshu, jivanam sarva bhuteshu, tapaschasmi tapasvashu, tapaschasmi tapasvasu. Prativyam cha, and in the earth, Sri Krishna says, I am the punyaha gandhaha. Gandha, smell. Punya means holy, but you have to put it in a contextual, get a contextual sense of punya. So sweet. The sweet smell of earth. I am the punyo gandhaha. I'm the sweet smell of the earth. Notice he doesn't say, I am the minerals. out of which earth is made. Why does he not say that? Doesn't sound very poetic, doesn't it? Does it? I am the calcium and silicon. You get the point. So this is intentionally poetic. I am the sweet fragrance of the earth. Tejaha cha asmi vibhavasau. Vibhavasau, in fire, Agni. Cha asmi, separating the words, asmi, I am tejas. I am the light of fire. Jivanam sarva bhuteshu. Sarva bhuteshu, in all living beings, Sri Krishna says, I am jivanam. I am their life. And tapaha cha asmi, tapasvishu, in tapaswin, one who practices austerities, an ascetic. So for those who practice austerities, for those ascetics, Sri Krishna says, asmi, I am tapas. I am the tapas. Literally, tapas means heat. So I am the energy that compels these ascetics in their ascetic practices. So very nice poetry, just to describe in a non-intellectual, a non-conceptual way, in a very perceptible way, to understand Ishvara, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma, whatever you see, hear, smell, taste, or touch, all that is Ishvara. Whatever you experience is Ishvara. Or we could take it one step further. The only thing you experience is Ishvara, right? Remember, and let me just return to one of the points we made in the last class, and that was to define all that exists into two fundamental categories, knower and known. Remember that discussion? Very important discussion. Everything that exists is categorically either knower or known. Sri Krishna says here, whatever is known is a manifestation of me. Sri Krishna also says the knower is a manifestation of me. The jivanam sarva bhuteshu. You could paraphrase that as the consciousness manifest in all beings. The consciousness that allows you to know what's happening. Reflect on your own self. Your body, manifestation of Ishvara. And body is known to you. The life force, prana, in your body is known to you and is a manifestation of Ishvara. Your sense organs and powers of action are known to you. They're all part of the known, not knower. And they are all manifestations of Ishvara. And your mind and intellect, memory, known to you, manifestations of Ishvara. Whatever is known is a manifestation of Ishvara. And then what is that other category? Known and knower. The knower refers to your consciousness, the consciousness because of which you know you have a body, the consciousness because you know you have life, because of which you know you have senses, mind, intellect, etc. Your consciousness is equally the presence of Ishvara. In the dream world, there is only dreamer. In this universe, there is only Ishvara, knower and known. Then, excuse me. Bijam mam sarva bhutanam, bijam mam sarva bhutanam, vidhi partha sanatanam, vidhi partha sanatanam, buddhir buddhimatam asmi, buddhir buddhimatam asmi, tejas tejasvinamaham, tejas tejasvinamaham. Sarva Bhutanam, for everything that exists. Look at that Partha in the second line. O Arjuna, vidhi, understand Arjuna, that sarva bhutanam, for everything exists, understand mam, me, to be the bijam, the seed. O Arjuna, understand me to be the seed because of which everything exists. What kind of bijam? What kind of seed? Sanatanam, the eternal seed because of which everything exists. Here we understand the world to be cyclic, to undergo cycles of manifestation and dissolution. When the universe becomes manifest, it arises from Ishvara. Ishvara is a seed. Just as your dream world emerges from you, this world emerges from Ishvara. In that sense, Ishvara is the Sanatanam Bijam, the eternal seed, Sarva Bhutanam, for the existence of everything. Further, Buddhihi, Buddhimatam Asmi. Buddhimatam, for those who are intelligent. Sri Krishna says, Asmi, I am Buddhihi. I am their intelligence. So we are all blessed with tremendous powers of intelligence. Not only can we thank Ishvara for blessing us with that intelligence, but we can take another step. Yes, it's true. Ishvara has blessed us with intelligence. But the next step is to understand that your intelligence is not just a gift of Ishvara. Your intelligence is a manifestation of Ishvara. You see the next step. Gift of Ishvara, you understand. But more than a gift, your intelligence is a manifestation of Ishvara's intelligence. So, buddhi, buddhimatam asmi, I'm the intelligence of the intelligent, and tejaha, tejasvinam, aham. Aham, I am tejas, I am the brilliance, tejasvinam, of those who have tejas. I am the brilliance of the brilliant. And you can take that in a physical sense. Anything that shines with the light of Ishvara, or you can take it in a metaphorical sense, intelligence. So if I am, which is what was said in the prior verse. So Sri Krishna says, I am the intelligence of those who are intelligent. I am the brilliance of whatever is bright, whatever is shining. Very nice poetry. One more verse in the same style. Balam balavatam chaham, balam balavatam chaham, kamaraga vivarjitam, kamaraga vivarjitam, dharma virudho bhuteshu, dharmo virudho bhuteshu, kamosmi bharatarshabha, kamosmi bharatarshabha. Balam balavatam cha aham. So balavatam, for anyone who possesses strength, balam cha aham, I am that strength. I'm the strength of the strong. Now, it's nice poetry, but it can be a little problematic also, because many who possess strength are mean or cruel. Think in history of the Saddam Hussein in Iraq or Adolf Hitler in Germany. They possessed tremendous power. They were strong. They were called strong men, but in a very negative sense. So Sri Krishna, remember this is poetry, so Sri Krishna wants to make sure that his poetic sense comes across. So he says, I am the strength of the strong, but what kind of strength? He he specifies what kind of strength. Kama, raga, vivarjitam. Balam, strength, that is vivarjitam, free from kama, desire, and raga, infatuation. So I am balam, which is not tainted. I am strength, which is untainted by desire and attachment, by human failings. So Sri Krishna says, I am strength, but in a very pure form, to allow the poetry to come across, to allow that poetic sense. So wherever you see power, you see Sri Krishna. Just a comment here, something I bet you also have experienced. When you see, let me just say it in my own terms. When I experience something incredibly powerful, I feel Ishvara's presence. And that's, for me, that's especially true in violent storms. I actually love violent storms, as long as they don't do damage. I love violent storms. When that lightning is crackling and the thunder is booming and the wind is blowing and the rain is coming down in sheets, I get excited by that because it is so intense, so powerful. For me, it makes me feel Ishvara's presence in nature. So I feel that power in nature wherever you experience power. That power is Ishvara's presence. Kama raga vivarjitam, pure presence, untainted by human problems. And then finally, last line, Bharatarshava, best of India. Bharata Rishabha, interesting expression. Bull of India, Rishabha. Bull of India means the mightiest to walk on these lands. Arjuna is addressed by Sri Krishna. He says, O mighty Arjuna, kamaha asmi. I am desire. Now that sounds very odd, but desire is one of our powers, right? In fact, in technical teachings of Vedanta, we talk about such a thing as Ichha Shakti, the power of desire, along with Jnana Shakti, the power of knowing, and Kriya Shakti, the power to act. So we commonly speak of these three powers we are all endowed with. We're endowed with Jnana Shakti, the power to know. We're endowed with Kriya Shakti, the power to act. And we're endowed with Kama Shakti, the power to desire. And you may think, desire is a power? Free will. What is more powerful than that? We are endowed with free will. Kama Shakti is free will. And free will shapes every aspect of our lives. Not only our lives, the lives of those that we touch, the lives of others around us. Free will is paramount in life. So Sri Krishna says, Kama asmi, I am desire, meaning I am, I'll paraphrase, I am your power of free will. But now we still have the problem that Saddam Hussein had free will, Adolf Hitler had free will, so Sri Krishna wants to remove those negative connotations. So he says in the third line, Dharma aviruddha bhuteshu. So I am the kama, desire, bhuteshu, present in all living beings. So I am the power of free will with which every human being is endowed. But what kind of free will? Dharma aviruddha. Free will which is aviruddha, not opposed to dharma. Not opposed to dharma means conforming to dharma. So I am the power of free will, the power of free will engaged in dharmic activities, righteous activities, not anything else. Okay, so these 4 verses, Sri Krishna says in a very beautiful, poetic way, his manifestation in the world, manifest in forms that you can see, hear, taste, smell, and touch, as in the case of that powerful thunderstorm. When I was a child, even as a child, I didn't understand any of this as a child, but I still had that sense. I grew up in the Midwest where they have tornadoes, and I don't know how, I was a child, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 years. I was outside during a tornado. A tornado blew down some buildings just a couple of blocks away from where I lived. I stood outside and I didn't know that there was a tornado, but you can imagine how violent the storm was. I was thrilled, even as a child. I didn't understand why I was thrilled. Later I understood why. Okay, let us proceed a little bit. Ye chaiva satvika bhava, ye chaiva satvika bhava, rajasas tamasascha rajasas tamasascha matta heveti tan vidhi, matta heveti tan vidhi, Natvaham te shute mayi, natvaham te shute mayi. Ye bhavaha, first and last words. Ye cha eva bhavaha. Ye bhavaha, these existences. So Sri Krishna is referring to everything he has just given as examples in the prior 4 verses. Ye bhavaha, all of this, meaning all that exists. Ye bhavaha, all that exists is satvikaha, rajasaha, tamasaha cha. All that exists is based on 3 gunas: sattva guna, rajo guna, rajas, and tamas, tamo guna. These 3 gunas. Allow me to remind you, to best way to understand this concept of guna. This concept of guna is part of an ancient pre-scientific worldview. And to really get the sense, we have to understand gunas the way they understood gunas, not with any modern understanding. So they understood these 3 gunas to be the fundamental substituents of material reality. Everything is made of these 3 gunas. So a good metaphor would be this. Just as we consider the universe to be made of matter and energy, they understood the universe to be made of these 3 gunas: sattva, rajas, and tamas. That's really quite a good parallel. We look at the universe through the lens of matter and energy. They looked at the universe through the lens of these 3 gunas: sattva, the principle of balance and purity; rajas, the principle of activity and passion; tamas, the principle of darkness and inertia. So these 3 principles form their worldview. So we look at this universe as matter and energy, which means Ishvara is present as matter and energy. This is to apply these teachings to our modern worldview. All matter and all energy in this cosmos is a manifestation of Ishvara. Just like in everything in your dream world is a manifestation of the dreamer, in this universe, all matter and all energy is a manifestation of Ishvara. But now, they didn't look at the universe as matter and energy. They looked at the universe as sattva, rajas, and tamas. So therefore, in the first half, Sri Krishna says, everything that exists here consists of sattva, rajas, and tamas. These three gunas, these three qualities. And he says in the third line to Arjuna, vidhi, understand, O Arjuna, tan, all of them, tan, all that exists made of these three gunas, all of them, mattaha eva iti, breaking those words apart. Mattaha eva iti, understand all of them are mattaha, literally from me. All that exists comes from me. So everything made of three gunas comes from Ishvara. Everything made of matter and energy comes from Ishvara. No problem. Last line is interesting and surprising. He says, Natu aham teshu. Says tu, but aham nateshu. I am not in them. What? Our whole dream metaphor show that you are present in the dream tree as the stuff of which the dream tree is made. You are present in the dream building as the stuff of which the dream building is made. The dream tree is not made of wood. The dream building is not made of bricks and plaster. It's all made of you. So in your dream, you are present in the tree, in the buildings, in everything. In this universe, Ishvara is present in everything. Ishvara is present in the chair. Ishvara is present in the leg. Ishvara is present in and through everything. So therefore, why in the world would he say this? Natu aham teshu, I am not in them, but rather te mayi, they are in me. That makes more sense. The dream world exists in you. This universe exists in Ishvara. So therefore, we have to understand, why does he say, I'm not in them? And here, don't take it as an absolute categorical statement. He's teaching here. And to explain his teaching, let me give an example that you may have heard me give before. Space is in this room. True or false? True. Space is outside this room, of course. So that leads us to a question, and the question is space inside this room, or is this room in space? Listen to that again. Is space in this room, or is this room in space? Now, really speaking, they're both correct, right? Space is in this room. It's correct. But isn't it more correct to say that the room is in space? That's the point. Yes, space is in this room is true, but it is more true, it is more correct to say that this room exists in space. With me? That's exactly what Sri Krishna is saying here. He says, Natu teshu aham, I am not in them, which means he says it's not absolutely correct to say I am in them. He's saying it's more correct to say they are in me. It's exact parallel to what I just said. Yes, space is in the room, but it's more true to say that the room is in space. I'll paraphrase this last line. Yes, it's true that Ishvara is in each and every one of us, but he says it's more true to say that we all exist within Ishvara. I'll do that one more time. He uses this very negative language, but it's a style. He says, I am not in them, meaning it is less true to say I am in the universe. he says, it is more true to say that all that exists in me. Okay, you get it now. So the same as this idea of space. There's actually a technical issue because of which he says this. If Sri Krishna says, I am in them, Teshu, if he says, I am truly in them, does it mean then that Sri Krishna is confined to the universe? Where the universe ends, Ishvara ends. We understand the finitude of the universe, right? In fact, in modern cosmology, we understand the universe as a finite entity that began exploding 14 billion years ago and continues to explode today. I find that an amusing observation. We live in the midst of an exploding universe, and certainly if you find chaos in the world, not surprising when you understand we live in the midst of this explosion, which is a fact. The point here is that this explosion is a finite thing. And if the universe is expanding, the universe is expanding into what? You get the point. So this verse makes it very clear that while Ishvara is present in the universe, Ishvara is not limited to the universe. Like prana fills your body, but that prana is limited by your body. It's stuck inside your body. Prana pervades your body, but it is stuck inside prana, life force. In the same way, in the counterexample, Ishvara is present in the universe, but is not stuck in any sense, not stuck inside the universe, not limited by the universe, in and beyond. And that's the point. Just like space is in the room and beyond the world, room. Space is in the room and beyond the room, in the same way Ishvara is in the universe and beyond the universe. That's what he says in that line. Let's just see a little bit more. Tribhir, where am I? Tribhir gunamayar bhavair. Tribhir gunamayar bhavair. Ebis sarvamidam jagata. Ebis sarvamidam jagata. Mohitam nabhijanhati. Mohitam nabhijanhati. Mamebhyah paramhavyayam. Mamebhyah paramhavyayam. Starting the second line. Sarvam idam jagat. Idam, this. Sarvam, entire. Jagat, this entire world. This entire world is, the verb is in the next line. This entire world is mohitam, deluded by what? First line, tribihi, gunamayaihi, bhavaihi, breaking these words apart. This entire world is deluded by tribihi, three, gunamayaihi, made of gunas, bhavaihi, existence. The entire universe is deluded by the three gunas. What does that mean to say deluded by the three gunas? When you look out into the world, you appreciate a world of matter and energy. When the ancients looked out into the world, they appreciated a world of sattva guna, rajas, and tamas. So different world views. So when you look out into the world, you see matter and energy. Do you see Ishvara? You might. But generally, people are mohita, deluded, meaning we are, to use some common language, we're stuck at a superficial level. We're stuck at the level of appearance, and we appreciate only the manifestations of matter and energy. We might be unable to appreciate the underlying reality because of which that matter and energy exists. So here Sri Krishna says the same thing from the ancient worldview. In ancient times, they understood the world to be sattva, rajas, and tamas, manifestation of these three gunas, and they too were stuck at the level of appearance. They were stuck at that superficial level. The ancients looked out into the world, they saw the three gunas, but didn't appreciate Ishvara as the underlying reality because of which it all exists. The purpose of these teachings is to elevate our understanding. For a child or someone who doesn't understand, we can appreciate why someone would look at the universe and see it in a very mechanistic way. Matter and energy is a very mechanistic world view. All that exists is matter and energy. But even science today has come to understand the limitations of that completely mechanistic worldview. Even science admits that the world is not so cut and dried, so to speak, as we think. There is something more to this world than matter and energy. Most scientists will even agree with that statement. So Sri Krishna says that na abhijanati, the world, those living in the world, na abhijanati, do not recognize mam, me, ebhyaha param, the one who is param, beyond, ebhyaha, beyond these three gunas. They don't recognize me beyond the three gunas, and avyayam, that changeless, eternal substratum because of which everything exists. Let me paraphrase this verse and put it in a modern context. We look out into the universe, we see matter and energy, and we may have this very mechanistic worldview. Sri Krishna says if you're stuck with this mechanistic worldview, it's because you have failed to appreciate a deeper reality. A reality because of which matter and energy exists. Sri Krishna says, I am that underlying reality because of which matter and energy exist. But if you are stuck at the level of matter and energy, if you're stuck at the level of mere appearance, you will not be able to appreciate who and what is Ishvara. So these teachings, in a manner of speaking, elevate our thinking, elevate our worldview so that we can appreciate that there's more to the universe than what we see. There's more than what we experience. If we are stuck at the level of appearance, at the level of matter and energy, then we are failing to appreciate a deeper reality, the reality because of which everything exists, the reality which is Ishvara. And we'll see this, in fact, this introduces the next topic. We'll see much more about that in our next and following classes. One announcement before we conclude, and that is tomorrow is the third Sunday of the month, so we are having satsanga. Our question and answer session will meet tomorrow at 6 p.m. Come and join us, and we'll conclude with our prayers. Gananahan tva ganapatigam avamahe kaving gavinamupamashravastamam jeshtarajam brahmanam brahmanaspatahana shranvan utabasira saranam. Om Mahaganapataye Namaha Ishvaro Gurudhatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramhanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinaha Sarve Santu Niramayaha Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaveta Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Tat Sat.